It's an absolute delight to be with you, as always, when I'm here. And I particularly thought that I would keep myself wrapped up warm because you've seen the amber alert, haven't you, that's been issued by the meteorological office that states that we're going to be having a very cold night ahead. So I would be extremely grateful that you all wrap up warm. Make sure that you've got your hats, your gloves, your socks, everything that you need in the morning to go to work. And yeah, just keep safe. Make sure that you wake up well in time and that your cars have fuel inside and that you take the necessary safety precautions, I would say. Keep your de-icer with you. Make sure that you've got a stash of food in the boot of the car in case of breakdowns. Make sure that you've got a blanket in the car in case of a breakdown, because often we don't anticipate enough that when breakdowns take place, we actually don't think about these things, and a warmed car can lose heat potentially very quickly. So I'd be very grateful for you to take these things into consideration. The fact that it's also an amber alert suggests that the temperatures are going to dip below freezing. So if you've got little ones that are going into school, do ensure that you've got your hats, scarves, your gloves, and they're adequately covered. But that's what I would say, wouldn't I, as a GP? Because we not only look after people's health, but we also safeguard their safety, their well-being, their emotional well-being. And that's why I love my job so much, being a doctor. And it's the most fulfilling job in the world. And you know, if I were to be born again, the only job I would be doing would be a GP. If I had to do it for free, I would as well. So, but yeah, I get paid for it and it keeps the bills. Pays the bills. Anyway, wonderful to have you all on board. Salaam Radio, your community radio station. And this is an hour in which I enlighten you as much as I possibly can about health issues. And we had an absolutely cracking show last week where I had some wonderful participation from all of you. And this week I hopefully will have the same as well. And if you've got any questions, ring me on 01733 602 133. I would be delighted to take your call. Actually, give me some company. It'd be wonderful to speak to you. What are you doing tonight? Is it that you want some tips on how to keep your skin moisturized because we're going to be continuing the topic from last week? Or do you want to talk about something else? Do you want to talk about any health issue? Just feel free to call in. That's what I'm here for. Just to announce disclaimers, however, that we can't advertise any particular brand of medication simply because of the fact that that goes against sort of rules of advertising or trying to promote a particular brand. Being a GP, I can't really comment on anybody who pitches up at the surgery and asks me for advice. Don't carry out consultations that way. So I'd be extremely grateful if you could be respectful of that. And the third thing is that any treatment that I describe, please ask your own GP first. If you're not sure, if you're sure, then that's fine. But if you're not sure and you have some questions, please try to ask your own GP. And I have a Miss Shabina Begum. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about Miss Shabina Begum. She's a lovely, lovely sister. She's so lovely. I mean, I've had to pause and say that again to stress on the fact that she's so lovely, because she texted me last night and she was going through here, and she actually works for a hepatitis C charity, and she's promoting awareness of hepatitis C. And I desperately wanted her on my show, and I had no idea that it was today. I'm not sure if she's still in Peterborough, actually. I will find out from her later on. But she tried to speak to me last night. We almost video called each other, and I couldn't answer her call because it just wasn't appropriate at that time. I was in bed and was going to sleep. So, Sister Shabina Begum, it's lovely to see you. Thank you very much for joining me here and listening to the show. And it would be wonderful to have you as a guest on my show. It would be a privilege to have you as a guest on my show. You could even come up on Skype. So let's talk about this, and let's raise awareness of hepatitis C, which you're doing such a fabulous job of. I'm so proud of you as a sister. I really am. And lots of love to you. Now, text and WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. We are available on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live. We've even got a Periscope account. I mean, the guys at Salaam Radio, my brothers, are absolutely fantastic at what they do. So give them a little bit of a round of applause. Now, coming to our topic for today, when we speak about eczema that I was talking about last week, we spoke about a multitude of things, didn't we? Spoke about the fact how eczema was triggered off and what the risk factors were with eczema, what the symptoms were. We talked a little bit about the treatment, and I just got it really sort of hard going, whereby we were getting to the important bit about talking in regards to steroid application and how we were going to do that. So I think it would be good to continue from where we left off. And of course, be wonderful if you could just text in. And Sister Shabina is saying, no, still going through tomorrow morning. Okay, that is wonderful. Well, I hope to have you as a guest on my show soon, Sister Shabina Begum. So people of Peterborough and beyond and internationally who are listening to this show, please do remember and keep it in your diary, hopefully schedule to have a show with Sister Shabina Begum, who works for a charity that supports hepatitis C. And I've spoken about it in the past, but we've got to talk about some of her wonderful work that she does anyway. Now, we're going to have a really quick recap, and then we're going to go on to talk about how to apply steroids. So if you can remember, I stated in the previous show that when you apply emollients, you've got to experiment with emollients and moisturizers. And what you've got to do is go down in one direction. So you slather the emollient on, which is your moisturizer, first of all, okay? You apply it in the direction of hair growth, in one direction, because there is evidence to demonstrate that eczema can spread. And the fact of the matter is that it would be wonderful to just, if you get sort of these main golden nuggets of information, it would make life a lot more easier for you. So slather on, and it's very hard work. If you get your moisturizing right, and if you get to be able to stem flare-ups in the bud right, if you can nip that in the bud, then the need for you to use steroid will become decreased. And that is the key message for today. Expect that you are going to have to work hard on this. And it's brilliant if you do, because if you nail it, it's wonderful. Like I said, my 7-year-old daughter, up to the age of 7, not 7-year-old, but up to the age of 7, my daughter Mariam had eczema. And it was very hard work, but I did not give up. I found a particular emollient that was brilliant for her. We would slather it on twice a day, morning, in the evening. She got to the age where she was able to put her moisturizer on religiously. And I can tell you, now she's 13, mashallah, she's grown out of her eczema. And that's what happens with atopic eczemas. You tend to see children grow out of it. Then we spoke about steroids. And if you remember that we spoke about applying steroids sparingly, the nature of steroids, they reduce inflammation, that there were different ways of taking steroids, that you have steroid creams and ointments are more waxy and Vaseline in consistency, whereas creams are more like a cream that you put to the face and becomes absorbed quickly. And I said that you would apply steroids in finger units. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Okay, so topical steroids are usually applied only once a day. When I say topical, I mean apply it to the surface of the skin. And I will state here right now that everybody has their own practice, but I'm not a big fan of steroids, simply because of the fact that I have seen some cases in my time whereby steroid absorption, skin thinning, hyperpigmentation, and I do like the area of skin quite a lot. And I think that using steroids also has its implication, and using steroids regularly also has its long-term implications. So I think it's very important that you're aware of those implications. But I'll tell you, if you do need them, if you've got red, raw skin that's hurting you and it's not infected and it looks inflamed and actually the moisturizer isn't doing enough, it's probably time that you need to have some topical steroid put on. So it's usually applied once a day. but it can be increased in some cases to twice a day if there's no improvement. And I usually say give it about 48 hours before you observe that improvement or not. You rub a small amount very thinly and evenly just on those areas of skin that are inflamed, okay? And your moisturizers should be put all over. Even if you've got good skin, slap on the moisturizer. And if you remember, there were natural ways of addressing dry skin as well. So I gave you grapeseed oil, for example, which is much better than olive oil as a moisturizer because it contains antioxidants and high levels of vitamin E. Now, how do you find out about the dose of using steroids? So you squeeze a little bit of cream out of the tube at the end of an adult finger. It's important that the finger has to be an adult one. And take my finger probably as the average adult female finger. Obviously men will have it differently. They'll probably vary in size, but you would apply the cream. If you're looking on Facebook Live, you'll be able to see me in the camera, that you apply the cream from the tip of the finger just where it's about to dip towards the fingernail, but not into the dip of the fingernail, because you have to be conscious that you don't want to contract bacteria lurking underneath the fingernail. However many times you wash your hands, there is the potential to contract that. And the cream, 1 unit of steroid cream, should be squeezed from the tip of that finger all the way to the first line of that finger, the line which is where the joint is. Okay, the crease, the first crease. And that is called 1 fingertip unit. So keep that in mind, 1 fingertip unit. And it's enough to treat an area of skin that is twice the size of the flat of an adult's hand with the fingers together. So if you have 1 unit of cream, you've put your hands together like this with your fingers together, that amount of cream is enough to treat that surface area of my hand twice over. So we're looking at a surface area of going around as such. Okay. And you gently rub the cream or the steroid ointment into the skin until it's disappeared. So if it's cream, until the white has disappeared. And obviously if it's ointment, it won't essentially disappear because it will still remain greasy. And then you wash your hands until unless your hands are obviously being treated. So you wouldn't want to actually wash your hands if you applied steroid to it. And just to remind you as well that hand eczema can be one of the most trickiest eczemas to treat. Okay, so don't forget in this instant, even though I'm telling you about steroids, to use emollients as well when you're using a course of topical steroids. So don't ever substitute steroids in place of your moisturizer. You should use both, with your steroid going on first, keeping it there for 20 minutes, and then applying your moisturizer on top. Now, we talk about the side effects of steroids, and this is something that I've told you about when I said that I'm not really a fan of them. But short courses of topical steroids, fewer than 4 weeks of a topical steroid is known as a short course. And they're usually safe, and normally patients don't really have any problems. And the problems may only develop realistically if the topical steroids are used for a very long period of time, or if strong courses of these steroids are repeated often. And what the concerns are with a lot of clinicians is that if strong topical steroids are used, you can think of certain side effects, and I'm going to describe those side effects to you. And Sister Shabina Begum has just said steroid creams are being mixed with cold creams and facial bleach to make skin whitening preparations in the beauty industry in Pakistan and India, and people are buying them from abroad, which can be harmful. And thank you for highlighting that, Sister Shabina, because it is indeed true. Steroids are used to reduce inflammation, and often where women may have some uneven pigmentation which is giving them some inflammation, steroids are used with bleaching products which are not FDA approved in the United Kingdom, may I choose to add. So wherever you buy them from, if it's not FDA approved, essentially if something happens to your skin, those individuals could be liable to be prosecuted. So it's very important that you go to a qualified doctor or a dermatologist that is able to treat and understand the anatomy of skin, assess your skin, and how your skin works or reacts. So Sister Shabina, thank you very much for that input. Coming back to the side effects of steroid now, thinning of skin is a documented side effect of steroid, and it's always been considered a common problem. However, recent research suggests that this mainly occurs only when high-strength steroids are used under airtight dressings, because sometimes you have to use dressings for people that suffer from severe eczema. And in normal use, skin thinning is unlikely. And if it does occur, it often reverses when the topical steroid is stopped. And we have Larib Ali Abid, who's just joined us, and Brother Amr Suleiman. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to you all. Thank you very much for joining the show. It's wonderful to have you all. And Larib Ali Abid is a very special young lady, and she knows exactly why she is. So I'm saying that on air to you today, Larib. Thank you very much for joining. So in normal, regular use, skin thinning can become reversible if you stop it in time, okay? Now, another side effect of using long-term topical steroid may be developing permanent stretch marks, which can be unsightly, which don't look very nice, and bruising or discoloration. And sometimes, because of skin thinning, the vessels underneath the skin that are microscopic in nature may break, which cause something which is known as telangiectasis, which are known as spider veins. And many women sometimes get spider veins on their legs, more prominent on the face. However, if there is notable skin thinning as a result of usage of steroid on the face. So we've spoken about skin thinning, and we've spoken about stretch marks with long-term use. Now we're also speaking about thread veins on the face as well. Also, it's really important that if you do suffer from underlying eczema, it can trigger off or worsen other skin disorders such as acne, such as rosacea, and something which is known as perioral dermatitis. Now, it's very interesting that these three are grouped together, and I'll tell you why. Because they have something in common. There is studies and literature to demonstrate that actually rosacea and dermatitis is as a result of an infective process. So bacteria proliferates underneath the skin, and essentially putting your conventional type of anti-acne treatments such as benzoyl peroxide, etc., won't really help, but they irritate and dry the skin further. Now, when you put steroid onto the skin, it feeds into that bacteria and thus proliferates and exacerbates the problem, and it makes it a lot worse. So using topical steroids on people with acne, rosacea and dermatitis can make it worse. So be very clear on whether you have just red acne, which is dry skin, or rosacea, because sometimes diagnosing rosacea can be pretty difficult. And we have Brother Star Abdul, who has joined. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Star. And Dr. Azhar Chaudhry, who has joined. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Chaudhry. It is a wonderful privilege to have you on board, because I always benefit from your input. Now, some topical steroid can actually absorb through the skin. And if you've just joined us now on Salaam Radio, the Body, Health and Mind Show, we're continuing the topic of eczema, and I'm talking about the side effects of long-term steroid use. Do you know, I think that we would just about get eczema finished today, and then we'll have to continue psoriasis next week, or we will see. I'll probably do it for another show, but yeah, I'm enjoying this right now. And some topical steroid can get through the skin, and then it can go also into the bloodstream as well. And the amount of steroid that gets absorbed into the skin is usually small. And in most instances, it doesn't really cause many problems. However, if you have strong steroids on a regular basis and they're used on large areas of the skin, we worry about that. And this is for those people that have eczema, and for children that have children who suffer from eczema. And the worry about that is if you're using steroid over a large surface area, strong steroid over a large surface area in a child who need frequent courses of topical steroids, the steroid can have an effect on that child's growth. So keep that in mind. And children who have repeated courses of strong topical steroids should have their growth monitored. So very important note. And if you can concentrate in mild to moderate cases of eczema, of getting it right with the moisturizing, and you've nailed that, then actually not needing a steroid can be a blessing in disguise. So I think that that's something that really should sit and as a golden nugget of information to take home. Now, how about using moisturizers and topical steroids together? So people with eczema, we prescribe moisturizers every day. Not in every instance, though, because I'll tell you one thing, in Cambridge and Peterborough, you've got to go and buy your own emollient. The GP won't give it to you on prescription. And that's simply because we're trying to save money for the NHS, which is good because we can put it to good use to services that could help develop new procedures that could save life. So most people with eczema will be prescribed emollients to use every day and a topical steroid to use when flare-ups develop. But when you're using the two treatments together, I'll briefly go over it again. It says here apply the emollient first, okay? I usually say apply the steroid first, but this is saying apply the emollient first. I can't really quote any credible research literature source to say what the benefit of that is, but I usually say apply the steroid first. My sources of information say apply the emollient first, so we're going to go by what the credible sources of information are from an NHS website, and I think that that would be much more credible. You wait for 10 to 15 minutes, as I've said, and after applying an emollient, before applying the topical steroid. So the emollient actually should be allowed to sink in, and if you've got a child who has problems with eczema, let them have a run around. Don't keep them plastered there. No, stand there for 10-15 minutes while your moisturizer sinks in. No, let them have a run around. Let them get on with it, and you can get on with something for 10 to 15 minutes before you actually call them back. Now, you put your topical steroid according to the finger units, and we will talk about finger units a little bit later on in the program, and we're approaching our next break, which is our first break, which is quite surprising. I don't want it to be, but there you go. And sometimes you can get infected eczema patches and characteristics of infected eczema, so that you know to gain a GP's attention are if the eczema on the skin is weeping, if there are infected skin lumps, if there are crusts, and there is a failure to respond to normal treatment, or if the eczema is rapidly worsening. It could be an indication that there is an underlying infection in the skin, so do consult with your GP if that is the case. And if the infection becomes severe over large surface areas, do monitor your child's temperature yourself, because it could be a marker that your skin is becoming infected. You might need an antibiotic for it. Again, just check with your GP. Now, what if your eczema treatment doesn't work? We would always signpost you to your GP if your eczema treatment doesn't work. And this is part and parcel of me saying that it is very important for you to experiment with different moisturizers to see which one is right for you. Now, a couple of things that could be adjusted is we should see whether the strength of the steroid should be increased, perhaps depending upon your skin type, how severe your eczema is, and what your age is, of course, and whether the emollients or the moisturizers that are using are often enough. So, like I'm saying, I'm reiterating it time and again, hard work. And allergy. So it may be important to rule out the fact that your eczema may not be getting better because you have an allergy to something. Like I said, dust mite in the previous program, like I said, an allergy to food. It's often lactose related or incorporated foods or milk that can cause, that is more commonly, excuse me, related to eczema. So if none of that works, then it can be taken into consideration to refer to a specialist. Now, there are other treatments that I would like to describe as higher grade treatments, and these treatments were introduced in 2002, and we are approaching a break in 1 minute. So they work by suppressing the cells involved in causing inflammation. And what they do is they are called topical immunomodulators. They're not steroids. They suppress the inflammatory process, and they work well to reduce the skin inflammation of those people who suffer from eczema, who have an allergy to it. And it's not very well controlled with conventional treatments. So that is something to keep in mind. And sometimes, just sometimes, there are some specialists that like to prescribe steroid treatments. I have Sister Saira Iram. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Saira. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today. And she says, Assalamu alaikum, what are your views in regards to diet and its effect on psoriasis and eczema? I will hopefully, inshallah, have a question for you, Sister, answer for you when you join me back on the Body, Health and Mind show. So stay tuned and don't go away anywhere. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
As of November 2018, over 1,100 people are homeless here in Peterborough, with at least 31 sleeping rough on our streets. Around the world, millions of vulnerable people, including our children, have no place to call home, with only the sky as their blanket and the ground beneath them as their mattress. Please join Penny Appeal Saturday the 19th of January from 5 p.m. for our winter emergency live appeal exclusively on Salaam Radio.
सोचिए, अगर आपको NHS GP की सर्विसेज हफ्ते इतवार और रोजाना शाम को मुहैया हो। जी हाँ, अब पीटरबरा GP हब ने इसको हकीकत का रंग दे दिया है। बर्बरी मेडिकल सेंटर, क्रेग स्ट्रीट, PE1 2EJ में ये सर्विसेज मुहैया हैं और आप शाम का और वीकेंड का अपॉइंटमेंट बनवा सकते हैं। अपॉइंटमेंट बुक कराना बहुत आसान है। अपनी नॉर्मल GP सर्जरी को फोन करें और GP हब के लिए अपॉइंटमेंट बुक करवाएं। तफसीलात के लिए अपनी GP सर्जरी से रुजू करें।
Had a car accident or an accident at work? Accident specialists are experts in no-win, no-fee accident claims. Leave the hassle to us. Our multilingual settlement experts will manage the entire claims process on your behalf, with nothing to pay up front. We provide services such as credit hire, taxi vehicles, recovery, storage and much more. For full details on our range of services and a free consultation, call us on 01733 555 774 or visit our office at 249 Lincoln Road opposite the NatWest Bank. Accident specialists. Start your successful claim today.
Need a great place to chill out? Look no further than The Lounge for quality food and drinks at a great price. Try our varied menu: pasta, seafood, burgers, grills, salad, soup, rice and sides. Also hot and cold drinks, milkshakes and mocktails. Leave room for our exquisite desserts. The Lounge, 417 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call 01733 709 306 to order for delivery. The Lounge, friendly service with a great atmosphere.
Third world and developing countries are home to some of the most vulnerable children on the planet. Malnutrition, severe lack of medical aid and access to clean water are just some of the horrific challenges faced by orphans across Africa and Asia. Children of Adam, a Peterborough charity, need your help to bring aid to these orphans for just £25 a month. To sponsor an orphan or assist with other projects, please call 0300 321 0032 or visit www.childrenofadam.net.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On the authority of Abu Tha'laba al-Khushni, Jurthum ibn Nashir, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Messenger of Allah, may the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him, said, Allah the Almighty has laid down religious duties, so do not neglect them. He has set boundaries, so do not overstep them. He has prohibited some things, so do not violate them. About some things he was silent, out of compassion for you, not forgetfulness. So seek not after them. A good hadith related by Ad-Daraqutni.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salaam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Body Health and Mind Show. This is Dr. Shabina Asad-Qayyum, your radio show host on this wonderful show, Body Health and Mind. It's certainly my favourite radio channel. I don't know about anybody else, because this is the highlight of my week, actually coming here and talking to you all, because all presenters here, what we do is in a voluntary capacity, and the people running the show behind as well. You can't imagine the amount of tremendous hard work that's put into this setup. And it's just for the purpose of information and building bridges. And isn't that just a beautiful thing? And I have to say this, I have to commend them each and every week that I'm here, because they deserve it. They do. They deserve that commendation. So yes, always say a little prayer for them whenever you do think of the team at Salaam Radio. It would be wonderful if we had that feedback, and it's very rewarding. Now, coming back to my topic, before the break we were talking about side effects of steroid creams, and we were also talking about diet as well. And Sister Saira Iram, who has very kindly joined, has asked us what my views were in regards to diet and its effect on psoriasis and eczema. So, Sister Sarah, let's make this answer very simple for you and specific. So, first of all, psoriasis and eczema are two different conditions, okay? To make life even more simpler, let's describe eczema and its association with food, and let's describe psoriasis and its association with food, although I am going to be doing a separate show on that as well. So, eczema, if you saw the show last week, and if you haven't, it's in the menu of the Salaam radio shows. Eczema, through research, has a noticeable association with allergies to food, okay? Mainly milk or lactic-based foods, mainly milk. But anybody that has a food allergy is more likely to develop eczema. This is why I pointed out before the break that if you see in your child or in yourself that your eczema isn't resolving and you've been newly diagnosed with it, keep a food diary. I explained this in the last show on how to keep a food diary. Do you notice that a particular type of food, and after consuming it, would set your skin off? And if that's the case, make a diary for a minimum of 2 weeks and then go and visit your doctor. An allergy test can be performed. We have them on the system within Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. We can ask for those allergy tests, and there are hundreds of them. So you can have allergy to cat dander, to dog hair, to grass pollen, to strawberries, to milk, to eggs, fish, nuts, and different types of nuts, cashew nuts, pecan nuts, Brazil nuts. We can do all those tests, which is absolutely wonderful in today's day and age, and in today's NHS. Aren't we just so lucky to have that? So that is the association between eczema and having a food allergy. Then we have the association between psoriasis and intolerance to food. Now, what is psoriasis? Psoriasis is, I'd like to describe it in the most simplest language as possible. Nobody knows what the cause of psoriasis is. Let me just make that clear yet. But it is thought that an immune response triggers off a rapid turnover of skin. So when I talk about turnover, your skin naturally has a shelf life and it sheds unknowingly. You walk through the day, you don't realise you're actually shedding skin in your house, and 40% of household dust actually contains skin. And in psoriasis, the process is altered whereby the skin sheds so rapidly that the skin underneath doesn't have time to mature. Therefore, the raw skin underneath, which is often raw, it is immature, it is not maturely set, and it is inflamed, can give you these scaly, large, thick plaques that are psoriasis. Now, because we don't know what the cause is, it is difficult to substantiate that psoriasis is caused by actual foodstuff. However, there are some theories that suggest that stress can exacerbate it. Certain foods such as milk, wheat, gluten allergies can exacerbate psoriasis. So there are some theories, although it is not substantiated by medical research. And I hope that's answered your question, Sister Syra, for now. And please get in touch if you need any more information. Now, sometimes we speak about alternative treatments, and sometimes we speak about eczema with blisters that would need wet dressings to apply to the blisters, and you need special soaks to dry up the weepy blisters. Hospital treatment is sometimes needed for severe cases. Treatments which are sometimes used include dressings that are called wet wraps, tar, and steroid occlusion bandages, which are bandages that are literally soaked in steroid, and light therapy, which is known as PUVA therapy, and it's offered here within Peterborough City Hospital, and immunosuppressive medication that I have described to you above, tacrolimus, pimecrolimus. These are the type of medications that can be given to halt the inflammatory process by depressing that cell activity, and that's how they work. Antihistamine tablets can sometimes be taken to ease the itch. They don't have a great effect actually in reducing too much itch, but there are some type of antihistamines that will help make you drowsy. They often say if your child tends to itch at night in very severe cases, and if your child is old enough, and if you give them an antihistamine that will put them to sleep, rather than try to mitigate the itch, that would be much better, because through their itching, they can cause infection and injuries and abrasions to the skin that can often cause bleeding as well. Now, dilute bleach baths are also an alternative type of treatment, and in some children, they've been used to some good effects, but there's not enough research on that. And what the theory behind it is that it is trying to clear the skin of bacteria by using bleach, and thus halts the inflammatory process. However, I'll be honest and transparent when I put my hand up and say I have yet to come across a patient who has undergone this treatment. And if they have, please excuse me. I would love to know what your views were on your experience. That would be wonderful. Have you had dilute bleach baths? How did you cope with it? Now, alternative remedies such as herbal medicines have been tried by some people. We get a lot of questions regarding natural therapies. The ones I've told you about last week are the ones that I would endorse. However, you should be cautious about using them, simply because if they're labels, for example, and these herbal remedies are brought from countries in which you cannot read the language, you will not be well informed about what is in them. And it's been noted that there are some Chinese herbal remedies that have been linked to liver damage. So be particularly careful about herbal and if you're using them for the skin as well. And some of these herbal treatments are also mixed with steroids to sort of give a false impression that they are treating the skin problem when actually they're not. Now, how can the atopic eczema be prevented? It may be worth breastfeeding a newborn baby for 3 months or more if your family members suffer from eczema or asthma or even hay fever. However, there is no evidence to suggest that a mother should avoid particular foods during pregnancy or breastfeeding. The only foods that you should avoid during pregnancy are the ones that your midwife tells you about. So those containing high levels of mercury, such as tuna, those containing soft pâtés and soft blue cheeses because of the potential of contracting listeria. And there is some, they do say don't have nuts during pregnancy. To be very honest, again, can't really substantiate that as to whether it would be beneficial or not. But I remember when I was expecting our first child, eating shrimps one day in a restaurant that I'd never been allergic to. And I tell no word of a lie when that I blew up in a rash and my face blew up and everything. And it was very shocking. And since then, I've had my kids and they're a little bit grown up now and I eat shrimp and I'm absolutely fine. So these allergies can be quite funny things at times. So just think about that too. Now, Sister Syra Iram has asked, I would also like to ask what treatment is the least invasive in terms of steroid creams and emollients for psoriasis, where a patient has severe psoriasis and is already on biologicals? Well, that is a very good question. Now, giving an honest answer to that, when we're talking about the least invasive treatment for steroids starts off by coal tar preparations, as you know, okay? And psoriasis does not respond immediately to these proprietary treatments such as coal tar. They take time, and we always give an average of 6 weeks response time. This is the difference between psoriasis and eczema. That eczema can respond much more quicker, but psoriasis, and if you are a patient of psoriasis, you may know this better, that it takes a longer time. When we're talking about least invasive, I would like to curtail that a little bit and say, well, actually, what suits you? Because the fact of the matter is that you may reach a level, or your psoriasis may be at that level whereby you need a more invasive treatment. And it may not be responsive to lower tier treatments, such as, for example, coal tar. And if coal tar doesn't respond, you obviously embark upon steroid with a vitamin D compound, don't you? So that steroid in combination with vitamin D is thought to be the middle to potent tier of treating psoriasis. And obviously, if one is on biologicals, then you do have to think about starting off by using coal tar as the basic treatment. I hope that's helped answer your question, Sister Sarah. Thank you very much for a wonderful question. Now, we talked about fingertip units, so I'm going to go very quickly. I've got this little chart in front of me because I would be falsely claiming myself to be a clever clogs if I learnt this off by heart and say, oh, no, nope, I've got this chart that I've just brought up. And if the area, we're talking about the amount of steroid. Remember me telling you about the one fingertip unit? I'm going to give you the amount of steroid that you use now for different areas of the body. So pay heed, wonderful listeners. So if a hand and fingers, both the front and the back, and if the size is roughly the size of 2 adult hands, the fingertip unit you need to cover 2 adult hands is 1. Okay? Front and the back. If you want to apply steroid to the front of your chest and the abdomen, you need 7 fingertip units. Okay? If you need to apply your steroid to the back area and the buttocks, you need again 7 fingertip units. This is important. This is the face and the neck. If you need to apply steroid to your face and your neck, you apply 2.5 or 2.5 fingertip units. If you need to apply steroid to an entire arm and a hand, 4 fingertip units. I'll write this all up for you so that you can keep abreast with it. An entire leg and a foot, you would need 8 fingertip units. Isn't that very interesting that the front of the chest and abdomen, one would think, would be much larger in surface area, but in fact it's an entire leg and a foot. Starting from the thigh, you need 8 fingertip units. So I hope that you've got that information jotted down. If not, I am happy to repeat it on my personal page that you can have a look at, or the Body Health and Mind page. I have Sister Shabina Faisal. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Shabina. Thank you very much for connecting with me and watching the show. So, Sister Shabana has asked, Salaam, Sister, can we buy the Levia Light treatment in the UK? What can we do at home ourselves? Now, are you talking about the Puva Light treatment, Sister Shabana? Because the Levia Light treatment is not something that's come to my attention. However, I am aware of light treatments that are available in the market, and my advice to you in my capacity as a doctor and to give you the safest possible advice is to use that which your GP endorses, if you're under the care of a specialist, which your specialist endorses, and more importantly, if it is FDA approved and is quoted in the British National Formulary, which is the BNF that we go by, and NICE guidance, that you can use it. If it is not endorsed by these, then its safety cannot be established by myself. And that is my answer to you in terms of home light treatments. And when you're talking about what can we do at home ourselves, if you are a mum who has a child with eczema, please work hard and find the right moisturizing treatment, okay? That is better. There are some people that say that psoriasis responds very well to sunbeds. Again, as a doctor, I would have to warn you about the dangers of UV light, wouldn't I? So when you have PUVA therapy within a hospital, it is within the normal range that is expected to be given to you. It's all monitored. It is all documented. You are safe. You are with an environment that is safe. And that is what matters. Safety first. And this is what I always say. Safety first. Okay? Now, when we talk about little babies and your adult hand, let's talk about children who are 3 to 6 months. Their entire face and neck would need 1 fingertip unit of steroid. An entire arm and hand, 1 fingertip unit. An entire leg and foot for a baby, 1.5 fingertip unit. And notice both of them being the same, that the adult and the children, the leg and the arm the leg and the foot uses the most steroid. And the entire front of the chest and tummy, 1 fingertip unit. And the entire back, including the buttocks area, 1.5 fingertip unit. Now, we've got a lot of units here. I've got for children from the age of 3 up until the age of 10, how many fingertip units you should use. And I shall post it on my personal page for you all to look at so that you can have a look, refer to it, copy paste it, keep it on your phone so you can refer to it if you've got little children that you've got to use steroid on. Try to avoid the steroid though, I do reiterate that. Now, what I would state to you is that there have been, when I was speaking about the side effects, I was speaking mainly about the fact that, you can have absorption of the steroid into the system, and it can also cause bone damage if you take oral steroids in the long run, which is thinning and Cushing syndrome. But 2 common mistakes when people use steroids, when you have to use steroids, are that some people use too little because of the fear. Don't be scared. I've given you the fingertip units. Use that fingertip unit. Okay? And a common mistake is to be too cautious about topical steroids. Some parents undertreat their children's eczema because of a fear of topical steroids, and they may not apply the steroid as often as prescribed. I usually say that use the steroid until the inflammation has died down and use the correct amount, and that's quite fair. So what you're trying to do is clear a flare-up. Once the flare-up has gone, you don't need to use the steroid. However, if you're using a little bit of steroid, you're not getting on top of the flare-up. The skin is undulatingly or just sort of, up and down with flaring up. It's not good for you because you're exposing your child or yourself to steroid. You're giving steroid and actually you're not really addressing the problem. So use the correct amount of steroid. And a flare-up is then more likely when you don't use enough steroid as well. So some people use too much. So we're talking about the other end of the spectrum as well. And they continue to use topical steroids thinking, well, the skin looks pretty good, so come on, let's keep on using more of this stuff so that the skin looks wonderful. I wouldn't endorse that. I would endorse working hard with the correct amount of emollient. Again, I've always advocated natural therapies like grape seed oil because it is thin, it is better absorbed, it doesn't block the pores like olive oil does, which is thick. And olive oil can sometimes counter-react and become an irritant. So grape seed oil is wonderful. And talking about other types of eczema, and I know that we've probably got another 7 minutes, but I think I can cover these type of eczemas. So we've got something known, that was atopic eczema that we're talking about. And then we're talking about discoid eczema. Eczema is dermatitis. Your dermatitis is obviously inflammation of the skin. And discoid eczema causes round or oval shaped red patches of skin on your body. So that is called desmoid eczema. It's also known as nummular dermatitis. So that's something that we have to consider, and its treatment is a little bit different because it causes round or oval shaped red patches of skin on the body. So it sometimes needs a little bit more in the way of steroid treatment. Now, what we've got to do is, for discoid eczema, we've got to employ skin rehydration treatment by emollients. And you use them in the form of creams, ointments, bathing solutions. So that's your discoid eczema as well. And then we have something which is known as Pomfilix. I like that word, Pomfilix. I don't know why, but I just find it a really interesting word. Okay, well, you found a funny side to me. Pomfilix is a type of eczema which affects the hands and feet. And they cause tiny little nodule-like, really teeny tiny nodule-like, pimple-like irritation, and they're itchy. Pomfilix. And it's a condition that causes skin inflammation. And it's also known as dyshydrotic eczema or vesicular eczema of the hands and feet. And what causes it? Nobody knows what really causes it. There are some factors, however, such as metals, such as nickel and cobalt. If you, for example, wear a ring that has nickel in it. An antibiotic known as neomycin is supposed to cause Pomfilix, which I read today, which was very interesting to me. And certain chemicals, such as perfumes. Emotional stress. That's true. Emotional stress can cause Pomfilix. And a rare form of Pomfilix that runs in families has also been discovered. So it affects about 1 in 20 people. And the symptoms are the tiny little blisters. They're quite firm and they can feel itchy, and some can even burn actually. And they form sometimes into larger ones, not all the time, but I get Pomfilix actually, and Pomfilix appear just on the inner surface or the outer surface of my index fingers, and they're very, very itchy. And it feels really nice to just really get into that itch and itch it out. But don't itch it, because that's wrong. It's a bad habit of mine. That's why I ruin the skin on the side of my fingers. And sometimes the blisters or skin cracks, just like mine, can become infected. So if you scratch away like me, then you will have to suffer with infection. So don't do it. Okay. Now, compresses or soaks to make the skin soft are treated for Pomfilix, and you can make it using a weak solution of vinegar, and the strength isn't specified, but you just put a little bit of vinegar in water, 1 tablespoon in a glass of water. And you can use something known as potassium permanganate solution, which is not going to be openly available. So please don't go ordering this stuff on the internet, because it's just wrong. And moisturizers and barrier creams, and obviously steroid medication as well. Sometimes Pomfilix can be addressed by using ultraviolet light therapy too. And what to do is that some people have even undergone Botox therapy for Pomfilix, which is very interesting. But this is all very, very specialist information, just being put through to you so that we could think about it. Now, what can you do in terms of Pomfilix? Sometimes it clears up in about 3 to 4 weeks and does not return. In others, it can be more persistent. Some people have repeated bouts and each last a few weeks, and so the condition may seem to wax and wane with that. So that's the idea of Pomfilix. And Sister Saira, thank you so much for your wonderful input, Sister Saira. I feel so privileged that you have given such a wonderful input on the show, as well as all of you that have joined, Brother Ghaffar Khan, Assalamu Alaikum, and Brother Faisal Mahmood. And Sister Saira, you've asked me another question. How can we keep a healthy mindset when afflicted with a skin condition such as eczema and psoriasis? That is, ways to improve self-confidence, moods, and self-esteem. As a GP, you are probably aware that a lot of adults who suffer with skin conditions suffer from low mood depressions. How can we combat these thoughts? Sorry for so many questions. No, I'm so happy that you've asked me these questions. Okay, Sister Sarah, listen to me. I deal a lot with people who have skin problems that affects their self-esteem. Of course it does. I understand that. I empathize with my patients that have skin manifestations that make them conscious, that make them want to think about going in front of anyone, that make them want to prepare for people coming to their house or going out. How can you keep a healthy mindset? Sister Sarah, keep talking to people, keep talking to health professionals, keep on gaining advice. In terms of if you feel that your mood is low to that extent that you need to gain advice over the telephone, or there are some good self-help techniques such as mindfulness. There are apps on the telephone such as Calm, which was the best app of 2017 on Apple, and Headspace, mindfulness. It helps you relax. Calm is very good. Meditation, slow breathing, taking yourself away. Mindfulness is quite good to allowing your body to relax and just disconnecting for a while. And that's something that I'll probably bring up in one of the future shows. Of course, if you feel that you're depressed, I would advise you to seek advice from a health professional. And having said that, 5 seconds to the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining me. Assalamu alaikum and Khudafis.